mean, they got sort of unleashed on various fields and got to eat everything. They were very happy goats.
Pretty cool.
But you'd be in like the inner city, and there'd just be this little like patch full of goats. This did not happen often, to be clear. Anyway,
I could do with a goat. Actually, I could do with a goat for our back.
Yeah, no, they're really good.
Okay, so it is 1 o'clock, Focarinos. So, once I figure out my general life orientation, I'm going to hit the start stream button. So we're going to start streaming in 3, 2, 1. Oh, wait, I haven't got music. That's a problem.
False alarm.
There we go. Got a nice little bit of music going. Hooray. Okay, now I'm going to hit the stream. 3, 2, 1. Hello! Welcome to Dungeons on a Dime and Chimera's collaboration for the wonderful role-playing strand of the Chimera Science Fiction, Fantasy and Horror Festival. Got that all out, that was great. Yeah. So, I'm Brian Tyrrell, I run Dungeons on a Dime, and I am joined by 3 wonderful authors, and we're going to be playing a fantastic rules-like role-playing game for an adventure called The Black Road. So we're playing from 1 till 3 today, I think. 1 till 3? Yes, 2 hours. And then I'm playing another game with a second group of fantastic authors from 4 till 6. And that game is called The Golden Pillar. It is directly relevant to everything that's going to be happening in this game, so have a watch of both. So, to start off our introductions, we'll start with Nina Oram, who is at the top of our screen. Nina, please introduce yourself.
Hello, obviously I'm Nina Oram. I'm a writer based in Ireland of a young adult fantasy trilogy called the Caracal series. And the first book, The Joining, was out last year.
Fantastic.
Hi, everyone.
Great. Nick, please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Nick Bowling, known in authory circles as Nicholas Bowling. I wrote Witchborn and In the Shadow of Heroes for Chicken House, which went to children's books, one of which got shortlisted for the Costa Award. And I've got my first adult book, book for grown-ups. Well, if you call it an adult book, it sounds like it's sort of top shelf, but it's
no shame.
I mean, it does have some sort of top shelf elements. Anyway, it is a sort of near future dystopian fiction, which is coming out on July 21st. It's called Alpha Omega, and yeah, it's about role-playing games in a way.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's about sort of online sort of multiplayer game, and how people sort of get sucked into it and the things that go wrong as a result.
Ooh, that is very dramatic. I love it. So, Lizy, please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Lizy Simonen. I am the imposter or interloper here. I do not have a published book yet. Definitely aspire to, and hope to maybe be back here at Chimera in a couple of years with a book.
Ooh.
Yeah, I am a part-time MLit student at the University of Glasgow in creative writing, and during lockdown, I co-organized the Stay-at-Home Fringe Festival via Zoom. So I have been on Zoom and other video quite a bit recently.
Yeah, that is fantastic. We need a lot of online entertainment with everyone being stuck at home these days.
Absolutely.
So we have lost Nina for like a couple seconds. Nina's internet connection is here and there, but Nina will return and be playing a wonderful host of characters. So we actually have a real range of experience with what are called tabletop role-playing games, or this sort of face-to-face freeform role-play. We have got Lizy with us. Lizy, you've got years and years of experience, haven't you?
I have 3 years of actively playing. I grew up in a household of D&D enthusiasts,
Wow.
but in a fit of teenage rebellion refused to play Dungeons and Dragons with my parents. They think it's hilarious how much I play now. Nearly all of my tabletop role-playing gaming experience is in Dungeons and Dragons, but I have done like one-shots in things like Honey Heist. But yeah, trying to broaden my experiences playing other games.
Yeah. Well, that is fantastic. I think that a lot of role-playing games are pretty much, they work very similarly, or the concept of role-play. So that's 3 years of experience. You're basically a master at all of this.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we'll see. You know, the student might become the master and the master might become the student. We'll see. And speaking of masters and students, we have Nick. Nick, you have got a lot of experience with traditional role-playing games, like video games. So, yeah.
But none whatsoever in tabletop stuff.
Yeah.
So this is all terrifically exciting.
A lot of the same stuff kind of comes over, though. I mean, Skyrim, you're running around, you're helping people, hitting stuff with swords, sometimes helping people by hitting stuff with swords. They can be mutually exclusive.
Yes.
And it is good fun, but this is going to be your first role-playing experience. Are you excited for it?
Absolutely psyched.
And unfortunately, Nina isn't here for this lovely bit of introduction, but Nina has no experience with role-playing games or tabletop role-playing games. Nina's back!
Hi, sorry guys.
That's all right. Welcome back.
And has assumed Lizy's position. I'm just going to move people around. There we go. We're all back. We're all good. Everything's totally fine. Nothing went wrong whatsoever.
Yeah.
All good. So I was just saying Nina has no experience of role-playing games, but does have a brother in New Zealand who is absolutely in love with them.
Yes.
So
He's
like,
also called Brian.
I mean, we're gonna start a band. It'll be great.
The Brian. Yeah.
The only rule is you have to spell your name slightly differently. So I'm Brian with an I, and there's Brian with a Y. There's Brian with, I don't know if there's other ways of spelling Brian.
B on the end? I don't know.
Yeah, Brianne.
Yeah.
Love it. Well,
Yeah.
that is everyone thoroughly introduced. Before we start our actual game itself and introduce our characters, we're going to go over some quick safety mechanisms. These are fantastic for when you're playing with people who you are friendly with, but might not have a really great close relationship. I've met Nina and Nicholas over the last few weeks, and I've known Lizy only a few months, so it's nice to have these sort of nice safety mechanisms, they're called, to make sure that everyone has a really fun time at the table. Now, we've already talked about these, but we're going to be using something called the X card and the lines system. The X card is super simple. We're on a video call, so if we're ever at any point uncomfortable at where the story is going, how we're playing our game, we're just going to go, no thanks, let's walk this back. And that's normally in relation to the lines that we've discussed. So, Lizy and I work with kids. In fact, I'll explain what lines are. Lines are basically lines in the story that we don't want to cross. They're themes that we aren't interested by, or that we don't really find enjoyable for our stories. So Lizy and I work with kids, so we're not really interested in any kind of adult content, as we shall say, or top shelf.
Top shelf.
Top shelf. So that's the line that we don't want to cross. There were other lines as well. Did anyone have any lines they want to bring up?
I don't like angry inter-party conflict. I am fine arguing or discussing things if it's clear that it's the characters and not actual people getting mad at each other. These folks are lovely. I don't think that's going to come up, but that does make me uncomfortable in other gaming circumstances.
Yeah, and that is a really good thing about safety mechanisms, is that, I mean, like 99% of the time, this might not come up, but if it does, we already have a way of making sure that everyone's comfortable and we can take a walk back from that and have a good time. So it just makes sure that everyone's really good. Another one that's come up is, we'll just say like phobic content. So homophobia, racism, no one likes that stuff. And we don't like to do it in our real lives anyway. So we're not going to explore it in our fictional fake games either. But yeah, those are some lines that we're not going to cross. And if at any point we feel like we are getting there, it's great just to go like, hold up, I don't think that's a great idea. And we'll go, oh yeah, cool. Take the story back a step, think about how we can rephrase things, or if we want to change anything, move forward. So yeah, Those were our safety mechanisms, nice and simple. And now we're going to introduce our characters. Again, starting with Nina, who are you playing today?
I'm playing Dr. Josephine Brightwater. She's an anthropologist.
Fantastic. Nick. Oh, yeah, Nina, go ahead.
No, that's it. That's it. Great.
Perfect. Nicholas, who are you playing today?
I'm playing Gilberto Gil, who is a withered subaquatic gentleman who has been fished out of the sea and enslaved by a fishing conglomerate against his will.
Against his will, but
obviously that's the nature of slavery, isn't it?
Yeah, he has escaped and is now a free fishman looking to make his way and get revenge on the fishing company that took him away from the sea.
Indeed, yeah, that's his main motivation. So he is chummed together with the two fabulous doctors in search of, well, how much am I allowed to give away of sort of what we're looking for?
Well, I will cover that just after Lizy introduces her character.
I'm playing the other doctor. I'm Dr. Kaisa Softpaw, also an anthropologist. She is a cat person who has hired this fish person, unaware that he is a fish person. What will ensue, we don't know.
Fantastic. So you are all on a quest to find the Golden Pillar. And to do this, you have to sail up the Black Road. You are all in the city or town of Rodand that is at the end of the Black Road. The Black Road itself is a pitch black river that weaves through the thick and rambling wilds of the Silver Wilds. It is a rainforest which divides the ocean that you're currently on at Rodend between the Silver Mountains, where there's lots of silver ore. So of course it's the Silver Wilds. You have to try and sail up this river on your little steamboat to try and find an ancient city that is suspected to be there. So, Dr. Kaiser Softpaw and Dr. Josephine Brightwater are researchers, anthropologists, who think that this highly advanced city was abandoned for some reason and want to try and find it. However, the Black Road is dangerous to travel up, and so they're making sure they're fully equipped to go on their journey. Along with our friend Gilberto Gil, they also have a small crew of sailors and a cook whose name is Nana Grunswick. And they are just making their way up this little river in their little steamboat, hoping to find this city and maybe some answers. They're also looking for the Golden Pillar and its maybe possibly social significance. What are some rumours that you've heard about the Golden Pillar?
There's talk of it being part of an ancient civilization, a lost civilization of potentially aquatic people, to whom Gilberto Gil may or may not be related.
And sorry, the civilization, there was all these things, all these technologies or things that they could do that have been lost. So there's potential there to rediscover all these incredible things. That's what Dr. Josephine thinks.
And Dr. Softpaw thinks the Golden Pillar in particular is a key artifact, kind of like a Rosetta Stone, that if it can be found, it will help interpret other aspects of this lost civilization.
Fantastic. So we have a motivation. Now, if this were a film or a TV series, we'd have the camera pan over the rain wilds and this really warm, boggy kind of rainforest and down into the town of Rodand. We pass through the busy streets where there are fish merchants and fishermen themselves loading up boats and catch. Occasionally, a rich merchant ship comes through, stops and docks, loads up with supplies and moves on. We go through the bustling market and we come to find our three characters just getting the last bits ready for their boat. So, you have your crew stocking up crates of food and general bits and bobs onto your ship. What is your What is your ship's name, by the way?
The Swamp Princess.
How do we feel about the Swamp Princess?
Really nice.
Perfect. So you are having the last bits and bobs loaded up onto the Swamp Princess. So what sort of stuff do you think you'll be doing, or what have you been doing today to make sure that you yourselves, Gilberto, Kaiser, and Josephine, are ready for the trip?
Just getting all our supplies and putting them on the boat, things like that. I presume checking the boat as well, making sure that the motor works or all the equipment works.
Oh, that all sounds fantastic. So you're checking over the boat.
Sorry, Gilberto's been dousing himself in water to try and refresh his ailing and dried out skin.
Very good thing to do. Lizy, what has Dr. Kaiser been up to?
Kaiser is making sure there are adequate cans of tuna on board because she knows there's a cook, but she's not really sure about what kind of food the cook is going to be making. So lots of extra cans of tuna.
Okay, so we'll start with Nina. So you're checking over the ship for any kinds of problems that might be on board. How are you going about checking? Describe the sort of actions that Dr. Josephine is doing.
She's walking along the side, looking overboard, looking at the edge of the boat near the water, making sure there's no holes or anything like that. She'll be checking. Is it a tiller? I'm not quite sure.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that sounds like you're being really diligent. You're going through, you're being very thorough, you're making sure you're checking every inch of the boat for any kind of problems. I'd like you to make a vigor roll for me. We're playing with a system called Adventures on a Dime, which I wrote. It's a nice, simple, rules-light system, and we have some cool custom character sheets on Roll20 for people to use if they want to play this. You can find the rules for free at doad.co.uk, but you'll need to do a vigor roll for me. So just go to your character sheet, go to the vigor, and click the button below. We'll see what pops up.
Sorry, just finding it. Two systems together. Yep. Come on. I can't get at it. There you go. Sorry.
Perfect.
You can tell I'm new at this.
So
the vigor, yeah? Sorry.
Yes, the vigor. So that little dice icon just below your current. If you click on that should give you a little roll. There we go. So what result have we got? There we go. You've rolled a 4. That is a success. So you do as well as you can. The narrator describes how successful you are. So that is a really good result. Essentially, you are going through the ship, and I'm going to say as you go into the base of the ship. I had the word in my head. The hull, the hull of the ship. You notice there is a very small, slow but persistent leak coming in at the very bottom of the ship. That is just dribbling away. It's got a small puddle of water there right now. So the other sailors on the ship don't seem to have noticed it right now. So what do you think you're going to try and do to patch up the Swamp Princess?
I suppose I'll be looking for something to try and cover it, to repair it, the hole. So I'll be looking for some sort of material.
I'd say if you go onto the ship, you'll be if you go onto the deck, you'll be able to find maybe some tar or some resin to sort of like glue over.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, yeah. So I do that. I go up to the top and get some tar or something to stick the hole.
Fantastic. So you kind of you glue it over, and slowly the inky black water that's been dribbling through from the black road comes to a stop. And while you do have some tar over your fingers and you've worked up a sweat making sure that everything's nice and patched, you are very happy with your work. As the camera moves through that now patched tiny hole, we find our friend Gilberto Gil dousing himself with buckets of inky black water that washes off back into the river.
Also deliberately shirking his responsibilities, deliberately avoiding work. I think he's sort of skulking somewhere in the corner.
Okay, so I'd say I think that's one of your skills is shirking work. So I think you're really good at just hiding in the shadow of this boat. And while you should probably be loading up the ship and making sure that everyone else is ready to go, you are unfortunately, or fortunately for yourself, just not helping out at all. I'd like you to make a cunning roll for me.
Sure.
Not necessarily to see how well you shirk, but to see if there are any bad consequences from you avoiding work. All right, so that is a success with a roll of 11. That is very high. I'm going to say that you shirk work, but there aren't any things that have been forgotten because of you, or any bad outcomes, so to speak. And as you are in the river, we will then have the camera pan down the river towards the local store where we have Dr. Kaiser pondering over different cans of tuna. So how are you finding the tuna, Dr. Kaiser?
Well, there might not be that much tuna, to be honest, if it's local fish. So I might be trying to debate whether or not I'm getting something else in a can. I don't know. Tuna I don't think are river fish, so this might not be the best place to buy it.
No, you sort of got like a moment where you're like ketchup, catsup, back and forth. So we'll say there isn't any tuna. What do you think you'd do if there's no tuna about? No canned fish at all, in fact. It's been completely seized up, or every last scrap bought by a travelling ship that just needed to restock, and it's just pulled out of the harbour.
I guess. Is there any like dried fish, maybe? Like fish preserved in a different way?
So there are some eels, actually, that have been dried and put behind the counter. They are chewy and very, very salted. When you go up to the owner of the store, the sales assistant running the shop at that moment, it is a very slim, spotty teenager who's just kind of polishing us. Oh, hello, how can I help you? Looking very, very tired of the fish smell and also of polishing counters and rotating stock.
Hello, I'd like an eel, please.
Oh, we're out of stock. Seems to be very intent on avoiding any kind of work. One might say shirking.
Is that eel right there?
Oh, that is eel, but it's been bought. This is being held for a ship.
I'm on a ship.
Which ship is it?
The Swamp Princess?
That isn't the ship that this is being held for.
Oh. Is there any sort of dried fish that hasn't been bought?
Well, business has been tough since the mascot has gone missing, and so we haven't been selling as much, and so we haven't been going and catching as much. I could ask the boss, but I don't think we've got any fish right now, which is unusual, seeing as we're fishmongers. Any fish that isn't spoken for. I think we've got some hay that we use to line the stalls. If that'll... It's not fish, but...
I can't eat hay. Why do you need a mascot? Doesn't fish kind of sell itself?
It kind of smells. And you kind of notice that he's got lots of like watery stains down his apron. And I mean, you as a cat very much enjoy the smell of fish. But many of your colleagues have often said that it stinks.
Well, is anyone selling any fish?
You might try around the market. But we've had a lot of ships come through to stock up. It's sort of the trade season. You might want to wait a day or two, see what the fishermen bring in.
Oh, well, I can't wait. So, good luck without your mascot. And I will.
We'll miss old Gil.
Huh. Weird. Okay. Bye, fish person. And I will try to find the market. See if there's anything there.
Okay. So describe how you're looking about the market for these fish.
I am following the smell of fish, and also figure it'll be near the water, but mostly using my nose.
I'd say
I have terrible eyesight.
I'd say make a cunning roll, but I won't give you disadvantage because you're following your nose and you're a cat. So I feel like most cats have active fish sense.
I forgot. What did I get?
So you got 3. You rolled a 3, which is a complication. You barely managed to pull it off, but not without consequence. The narrative describes how the situation becomes more complicated. So I'd say you go to the market and it's a similar situation. A lot of the fish here is already spoken for, which is rare because many people rarely speak for fish. But there are some choice cuts of haddock and salmon, fresh and canned and otherwise. But it seems to be a very, very busy season for merchants to come through, and so any existing fish have already been bought. There are some dried sausages and strange meats of questionable origin, but there is no fish available at the moment that is not already, so to speak, spoken for.
I will sniff the sausages suspiciously, and if they don't smell too horrendous, I will purchase some sausages.
Okay. You buy some sausages. They smell peppery. And of fennel and salt. I would say you're going to spend your pocket change to get like a decent, hefty amount of sausages, like a good, maybe like 40 in a link.
I am adding that to my pocket items.
I would say they are an actual carried item. So pocket items are small, tiny things like a feather, while your carried items are big. They are held in 1 or 2 hands. So you've got like a good amount of sausages in your backpack now.
I am now carrying 40 sausages.
40 sausages, exactly 40. Not a sausage more.
No.
Okay. So you make it back to the ship where you find Gobilto looking... completely drenched, as if he has worked so hard all day just to make sure, like, he's probably the only one who's worked on this ship all day long while you've been out going for sausages. And you see Dr. Josephine stepping out onto the bow of the ship. The deck. Words. We're authors. We know what we're talking about. Stepping out onto the deck of the ship with like sticky fingers and a tarry brush, but looking rather pleased with herself. And with that, you're able to set out onto your voyage up the Black Road. Before we leave, is there anything else that anyone would like to try and do in Rodand while here? I take that as a resounding no. Everyone is excited to make their way up the Black Road. So, with a toot and a hoot, the ship itself, the Swamp Princess, slowly its wheels start to rotate. The rudder shifts you out from dock, and you slowly make your way up the canal of the river and further down into the Silver Wilds. So we're gonna have a music change because music changes are very exciting.
Yes.
So as you move out of Rodand and into the Silver Wilds, you recall the strange rumours and tales of travellers who tried previously to go up the Black River. It's very strange. It doesn't seem to have any sort of feed-ins. It all seems to come from a single source, which is where you're heading to try and find the Golden Pillar. It is pitch black, and seems to contain some kind of strange chemical, toxin perhaps. Any plant that is watered with water from the Black River immediately dies. And so the banks of the Black River are sludgy and muddy because no grass, no canopy, no tree seems to grow, though it seems safe enough to drink and eat and bathe in. So, Gilberto Gil, do not worry for having washed yourself with the water.
I was going to say, I just spent the entire morning dousing myself in poisoned water.
Yeah. It is interesting enough that it seems to have an effect on these plants. But you're moving your way up, and aside from maybe like a meter or two of no growth, there is a strong wave of heat and fog from the Silver Wilds. You are making your way up, and to make things interesting, I'm going to present to you 3 fortunes that you can choose from, and that will then involve what trouble you might find. So, the first fortune that you could choose from, in fact, I'm going to write these down so that we can all see them.
Cool.
So the first fortune is just out of sight. The second fortune is an island of bones. And the third fortune is out of sight, out of mind.
Oh.
I'm going to add a little bit extra to the first one, so it's just out of sight but tantalizing. An island of bones, or out of sight, out of mind. So you'll pick one of these fortunes, and that'll be something you encounter on your way up the Black River.
Do we pick these as a group? Do we sort of collaborate and decide which one we want?
Yeah, have a little talk amongst yourselves about what sounds most interesting.
I mean, Island of Bones sounds really cool.
I should say no, but yeah, Island of Bones.
Mm.
Nina, what do you
I'll
think?
go with the team. I think that sounds good.
Thank you, Doctor.
Island of Bones. So you are sailing your way merrily up the Black River. The flow of it is not necessarily strong. It is slow and considerate. And you see the spread of the black inky water out into the sea at its base near Rodand. It diffuses into grey and then into the blue of the ocean. But as you sail up, it grows darker and darker until it's at its full concentration. It is as if you are sailing in ink, though it doesn't stain your skin or the sides of your boat. As you are sailing up, above, the canopy stretches over the river almost. Vines hang down. And Dr. Kaiser, the humidity causes your fur to plaster to your skin. And you've gone from this lovely, bushy, bright fur to this sort of drowned, rat, sweaty-looking thing. Yeah. Gilberto, you are appreciating.
Little glasses steaming up.
Yeah. And that's something you're constantly having to take your glasses off and wipe them and put them back on.
Well, what good thing that in my equipment is a glasses repair kit that does have a nice little cloth.
You're having to wring the cloth out as you're kind of like wiping condensation from your glasses constantly.
Yeah.
Gilberto, you were enjoying the humid weather, and that is why you are further up the ship, enjoying the view and the passing foliage, the sounds of strange creatures howling and grunting in the forests. And that is why ahead you see first a little split. The river seems to flow around something, and it comes larger into view. You see white, almost, very stark against the black, muddy sludge clay of the Black River's banks.
Okay. I mean, so the reason I'm with the 2 doctors is because I know basically nothing about this entire journey. I'm sort of very much hanging onto their coattails even. Tailcoats.
Might just have a tail, I don't know.
And just a tail, yeah, exactly. At the same time, I also, I kind of want to keep myself out of the way. So I'll go and talk to one or both of the doctors to ask them what this thing is. But I sort of want to keep myself. I'm sort of pull my hat down over my eyes and shrug my coat around myself, so they don't sort of, because these guys don't know I'm a fish person, right?
I don't think they do.
Okay. So yeah, I will carefully ask them to sort of gently raise the problem of the thing that's looming in the middle of the river.
Okay, so you mentioned to Dr. Kaiser and Dr. Josephine, there seems to be an island of skeletons slowly approaching.
I clean my glasses off again and defer to Dr. Josephine.
Well, because of what she's like, Dr. Josephine is going to say it. Well, I think we should go and investigate and see what's going on.
Okay.
Are you sure? We could just say a little more.
Oh, well, I suppose that's what she'd do. Well, would you prefer to stay along? But I think she'd prefer to have a look. As an anthropologist, it's too enticing to see why there would be all these skeletons on an island. So
Yes. Oh, no, I completely agree. Kaisa is very timid. Oh.
So's Gilberto, really. I think you're going it alone.
I feel like this is the reason why there aren't many anthropologists. So, you, Josephine, direct your crew to steer the Swamp Princess slowly over to this island of bone. And maybe it is, it's shallow, almost like a sandbank that seems to be covered in all manner of bones. The boat is able to slowly nudge itself into the bank itself and weigh anchor. And if you'd like, you're able to get off the boat and have an investigate. You can see that there are, it's a real mix and jumble of bones of all kind here.
So, like, not just
I think
humanoid. Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay.
Brian?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, not just, like, humanoid bones.
You aren't able to tell without getting off the boat first.
Sure.
So this is what you can see. You can see that it's a mix of, it is bones here, but you're on the deck of your ship, you're looking down and you're going, bones.
I think Dr. Josephine would definitely get off and have a look. I think she would try it and say.
So you swing your legs.
She's too curious.
You swing your legs over the railing of your ship and you jump down, and with a kind of a crunch, you fall onto these bones. And it is a crunch. These bones, the ones exposed anyway, are bleached by the sun and as dry as they can be in the humidity. But there's also a bit of a squelch as well, as the sort of the mud of the river up kind of squishes up around with the weight of you kind of clambering down onto these bones. The bones seem to be, interestingly enough, large. You rifle through them and you see that they are roughly humanoid sized. Maybe an arm bone, that might be a tibia, that could be a rib. You interestingly pick up the lower half of a jaw, but it is much more fish-like with fangs and sharp teeth than it is, say, a human's jaw or a cat's jaw. But you also are looking about and you see half of a very human-looking skull and sort of a foot maybe with very old, or the claws of a cat. There seem to be all sorts of different kinds of people bones here.
I think Josephine would be very confused by this, kind of lots of thoughts running through her head about, was there some strange humanoid cat people or fish people? I think she'd be very confused about what was going on. And she would call over the boat and ask for Dr. Softcore thoughts
Very
as the
hesitantly.
senior.
Yeah, very hesitantly, Kaisa gets off the boat and onto the pile of slightly squishy, crackly bones. Yeah, and looking at them, do I get the impression that they're all very old?
I'd say, how are you investigating these bones? Like, describe how you're looking and judging these bones.
I will carefully pick up and focusing on skulls. And yeah, I mean, if I'm an anthropologist, I'm like flashing back to my undergrad years, guys.
Do you have any skills for your character, or do you have any tools that you think could be particularly useful here?
Do I have any tools? I do.
We've lost Nina again, but we'll catch her up when she joins back in.
I have what I have noted down as a mostly full notebook, so maybe I have some notes in there about how to gauge. Yeah, how do you? Well, do I just get an impression? Do they smell like anything?
You give them a good sniff, and mostly they smell very of nothing, almost like clean. You've handled bones and fossils before, and they have a certain soily, earthy smell to them once you've excavated them. And these have again that sort of muddy smell from a riverbank, maybe a little bit of rottingness from vegetation long washed down the Black River or the Black Road. But they don't seem to smell of flesh or anything like that, or rotting in that sense. Yeah.
Do they have any marks on them, like injuries? Like, I'm thinking of here at Calvin Grove Museum, we have like Robert the Bruce's skull, and he's got like sword cuts and stuff in it. Does it look like there's been violence?
I would say make a cunning roll for me, and you have advantage because anthropology. You've got anthropology skills. So roll twice, and we'll take the best of the result. Okay. So you have got here 2 rolls that are both 8s, which are both successes. So you are very knowledgeable about human conflict and cat conflict and fish people conflict. And you're looking at these bones, and you see that they seem to have sustained some sort of damage. You're sure that some of them, for example, the ones that Dr. Josephine jumped on, that damage is more recent. But you can tell that there are some fractures that imply that maybe some kind of blunt trauma or some bludgeoning happened. You're not sure what source, though, without more context. But it seems to be some kind of damage has happened. And as you're looking about, you notice that the bones, this little isle, is only the start. There seem to be bones all along the river. You'll sort of go in and poke at the edges of the bank with a bone, and you see that there are more bones underneath the Black Road.
I scoot right back onto the boat.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. Leave all that behind.
Taking the bone with you, or?
I'll take a skull.
Ooh, what kind of skull?
A cat skull?
Mm-hmm.
No, a fish skull.
Mm-hmm.
I will take a fish skull.
You managed to find one that it might not be the same person's, like a jaw and a head skull from the same fish, but you managed to find a complete skull, so to speak.
Yes.
That you have with you.
I take that with me, and I scoot back onto the boat, and I say to Dr. Josephine, I think we should keep moving. I don't like it here.
Dr. Josephine, with this information that we've uncovered, I'll catch you back up. Dr. Kaiser has found out that the bones seem to have some kind of history of trauma, and maybe from a fight, or maybe from natural causes. Without context, an anthropologist can't be sure. But they seem to all have suffered some kind of blunt trauma. And they seem to be on all of the bones in various places, maybe on the skulls, maybe on the arms or the femurs, that sort of stuff. And has now gone back to the ship feeling very uncomfortable that there are bones not just on this little island, but also deeper into the blackness of the Black Road.
Okay. Well, I think I think Dr. Josephine will join her very quickly because she's suddenly feeling very alone and vulnerable on the island.
Okay.
But
And Gilberto Gil, Dr. Kaiser has come aboard with a fish skull. Teeth and all.
Well, as per usual, I'm not really up for mingling too much, but what I'd like to do is wait until she puts it somewhere and then maybe try and look at it. So I don't know if she takes it back to her cabin or something. Can I just hang around and look?
Well, I feel there are plenty of opportunities when Dr. Kaiser is wiping yet another wave of humidity and moisture off of her glasses for you to stop and have a look at this skull. Is there anything you're trying to find out, or just having a gaze?
Oh, well, I just want to have a little look at it because I've never seen any fish people myself. I've been alone out in the ocean, and I've got sort of vague memories, kind of clouded, kind of dreamlike memories of my parents when I was just a mere tadpole. But as an adult fish person, I've never seen any of my kin, so I'm just very interested to see if this is the skull of someone who's like me, and maybe as a clue to where I've come from.
So I would say make a willpower roll for me. This is a kind of a deep connection with your past. Do you think you have any skills that are relevant to that sort of introspection?
Yeah, introspection is my middle name.
Oh.
Gilberto Introspection Gil. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in my previous life as the fisherman's mascot, when I was sort of chained up in the dark, I had nothing but time to just think and think and think. Yeah, very good at sort of thinking things over. So
okay, I'll let you roll with advantage then. You've had a lot of time spinning signs as a fishmonger's mascot to think about your life as a fish person. So yes, roll a willpower roll twice, and we'll take the better result. Okay, a 6 and a 7. That is a success. You are able, sort of looking at the skull, to sort of imagine yourself wrapped around it. You've seen very occasionally your fishy face reflected in the black road, which makes for a good mirror on the half a day off you'd get once a week as a mascot. And you think it's roughly the same sort of shape and size that you would have if you were to look at your own skull. Not that you've had the opportunity to, but that's another story.
Interesting.
You think you count the teeth, and you count with your tongue as well inside your fishy head, and you go, yeah, I've got roughly the same amount of teeth. Okay.
And maybe it's also so I've also got these sort of weird sort of poisonous barbs that stick out of my gills. So maybe there are like some little holes in the skull that sort of look like where those barbs have come from.
Yeah, we'll say that you see that there are these little indents where maybe like the filament barbs would have like hooked up to near the skull, and you're able to think, I think I'm one of these.
Yeah.
Or maybe these are one of me.
Can I be so moved by the skull that I steal the skull?
You could try to.
Can I steal the skull, please?
I would say, Dr. Kaiser, how observant are you looking at the skull?
Well, I would hope that I'm treating it with proper respect and care, because these are not well. It has been sitting out in this weather for a while, but it's not the best conditions for preserving a skull. So while I think I was definitely briefly distracted by being completely blinded by humidity, I am going to be going back to looking at the skull. So he's going to have to be sneaky.
Yeah. Okay. I'd say you notice that you're able to steal glances, Gilberto, but it might be you might have to be very specific when thinking about taking this skull.
Okay.
How devoted are you to taking the skull?
I think I am really kind of mesmerized by it because, like I say, I've never seen anyone I've never seen another being like me. So,
Okay. Lizy, make a cunning roll for me.
yes, I will.
Not Nick, Lizy.
Oh, Lizy.
Oh.
Oh, right.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, okay.
So that is a 4. That's a success. I feel that despite having clouded glasses, you're able to see that one of your porters, this Gil Esquire, who is just completely astounded by this fish skull. Maybe this man has never seen a fish before, which is quite surprising, having lived in Rodland his whole life, a fishing town.
Mr. Gill, please be careful with that. It could be a very delicate specimen.
Would you mind if I just took this back to my cabin to have a closer look at it?
Yes, I would. It's significant. I need to return that to my university.
Okay, but why is it so significant? Why did you choose this skull in particular?
Well, where we're going, there was some sort of civilization previously, and it's been posited that it was a civilization of aquatic persons, such as exhibited by this skull. So it could be a member of the people we're trying to find or research.
You mean people like me? Oh no, I mean nothing. I'm sorry. I've just remembered I've got to go and polish my monocle. Goodbye.
He doesn't even wear a monocle. How odd.
And with that, Gil, I would say you probably retreat somewhere in the boat and avoid eye contact, which is very easy with Dr. Kaiser, seeing as they have 4 eyes and all of them can't see.
Useless. Yes.
So I'd say the boat, the crew, now especially, they've had enough of being docked near Skull Island, of which you have taken one of the many bones. They ask politely, but very firmly, if they might cast off and make their way further up the river.
I'm absolutely fine with that.
Yeah.
They've been. I'm nowhere nearby anyway. So.
Yeah.
They've been paid very well to make their way up what has been rumoured to be a very dangerous trip that no one ever returns from, and this is not a good omen for them. They'd much rather make their way back up the Black Road and see where they go. So, we're going to have another fortune. So this is going to be another event that you could choose from. Let me find the fortunes for you. So, the fortunes that we have, if I can get my whatchamacallit, the text thing on the World of the 20. So, the first one is oozing, stuck, slowed. The second one is howling flight. And the third is not enough for all. Of these 3 fortunes, which does the group think is the most interesting?
I'm very intrigued by howling flight.
I was gonna say, yeah. And given that we're both cowards,
Yeah, that's just
something that seems pertinent.
Nina, which prompt do you think is the most interesting for the story could go?
I think I'm quite happy to go with howling flight. I think, yeah.
Okay, so howling flight it is. As you move away from Skull Island, it's maybe several more hours of sailing up in the strong sunlight and heat. The sun is now high above you in the sky, having, you cast off maybe near the early morning, and now it is high above you, beating down with radiant heat and causing all sorts of mist and fog to rise up from the floor of the Silver Wilds. And it is in this sort of buzzing, you've got the insects kind of buzzing around you and the sounds of the water and the boat and the chugging and the steam. You hear a little kind of like moving closer and closer from the forest itself. How do you guys react? There's sort of like a hooting and a whistling, and it's growing louder and closer.
I'm going to absolutely cower.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, same. Tuck myself away in the bowels of the ship, I think.
I'll stay on deck, but I'm like huddled into like, if there's a box, I am sitting in the box.
You're in a doorway from your cabin going, huh? Probably from polishing and looking at this skull. You hear this
I actually
hooting.
took the skull to my cabin after Mr. Gill showed interest.
And Dr. Josephine, what is your reaction to this sound of howling noises coming closer to the ship from the forest?
I think it is to try and have a look and see if I can see what's making the sound.
Okay. I'd like you to make a cunning roll for me.
Yeah.
To see if you can spot what it is coming through the thick, juicy canopy leaves. That is a critical success. You do better than expected. The narrator describes how things go in your favor. So you have done a bit of reading on the Silver Wilds and the creatures that live within, and you recognize the description of this hooting call. It's a baboon, or several baboons, and you're able to step back from the railing as you see swinging through the vines and the upper parts of the canopy several baboons running very quickly through the forest, and they leap over the river. Some make it to the side, some land and splash and start to swim, and two land with thuds onto the deck, howling and hooting and jumping, and now they are harassing the ship. They are jumping up and down and making all sorts of loud noises. Josephine, how do you react to this?
Well, apart from screaming, I think I tried to...
Can we hear that in real time, maybe?
Yes.
Oh no, has she frozen?
She's frozen with terror.
Oh no! Nina is frozen with terror. We might come back to Nina. Nick and
Yes.
Lizy, how did Gil and Dr. Kaiser react to the sounds of feet slapping on the deck and howling and shrieking?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure. I mean, I think to begin with, like I say, I'm sort of cowering down below, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to get anywhere closer to the Golden Pillar without these guys, so I'm completely dependent upon them. So if something's going wrong, then I perhaps need to help out. So I think I spend a bit of time cowering and dribbling, and then decide it's probably best if I go and check out what's going on upstairs.
Okay. And Dr. Kaiser, from the door kind of only creaked open slightly, you see two big baboons land onto the ship. And Dr. Josephine lets out a howl of, a baboon!
Yeah, absolutely terrified. But similarly to Gilberto, I've invested a lot in this expedition. And I'm definitely risking my career pursuing this. So I will open the door a little bit more, and if one of the baboons comes towards me, I will take a swipe at it with my claws.
Okay. And we have just regained Dr. Josephine. Josephine, what were you going to do before you disconnected?
I was going to see if I could try and persuade the crew and Dr. Softpaw and Gilberto to help me capture the baboons.
Okay.
Capture them. Okay, cool.
So, Josephine, I'd like you to make a willpower roll for me, trying to convince the crew to join along in trying to corral these baboons, maybe into an empty cabin. That is a success. You are able to get the crew. You're like, oh, come on, let's just contain these. You know, the chaos, they're pushing crates off the ship. They're jumping around. They've bitten someone. And you are able to start convincing people to herd these baboons into, as it so happens, Dr. Kaiser, your cabin.
Oh no!
So you open the door to take a swipe at a baboon to get it to go away, and instead one leaps into the room and is howling and jumping on your bed and jumping around. What do you do?
Scramble under the baboons and just like flee.
Mm-hmm.
Just book it out of there, making very upset cat sounds.
Okay. Because you are a cat and you have fantastic grace at running away from things, I'd like you to make a cunning roll for me with advantage to try and scramble away from the baboon.
Oops. It froze.
Okay, so that was a roll of a hijinks and a success. So we'll take the success.
Oh, thank God.
Yes. The baboon knocks over a bookcase that you have in the room of research, and as it's teetering down onto you, one book kind of like thuds and hits your shoulder, and it causes your reflexes to snap into action. You scramble over the under the baboon, through the door, and as another baboon leaps over you, the door is slammed behind you closed. There are two baboons scrambling around in your room, but you are safe and out on the deck, breathing hard and feeling very scared.
I shed a quick tear for all of the research that I know is getting torn apart back in my room.
Aww. It is at this moment that there is a cheer from the crew, and everyone seems to be very happy with the job of capturing and containing these baboons on deck. That Dr. Josephine, with your incredible cunning, you look over your shoulder to where they came from, and you see little small black shapes flying out from the distance. And you recognize them as birds, and then more birds, closer. And then suddenly you hear it more than feel it as you're on the water, but you hear a... Something big is coming through from the forest, from the direction these baboons seem to have been fleeing from.
Oh no. I don't know what to do. Except to flee with the baboons.
So
I mean, I think we cast off anchor and chug out of there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, can the boat go faster?
The boat could go faster. It is a steamboat, so do you want to try shoveling more coal into it to make it go faster?
Yeah, I'm pretty hardy for my small frame, so I will go frantically shovel coal.
At Josephine's direction of there's something coming, you start with your sort of like kind of cleaning the litter box, so like front paws and back paws, just scrabbling coal into the engine to make it go faster. I'd like you to make a vigor roll for me.
Okie dokie.
Do you have any skills or tools that you think could apply here?
I work tirelessly. That is a skill I got from my job. So I'm gonna keep at it as long as I have.
Okay, I'd say roll with advantage then. Yeah, it's the long haul that you want to get away from whatever's chasing you. Oh, that was a 2 and a 3, a complication.
Oh, jeez.
So
Well,
this is the thing. The boat starts to the grey little plumes of smoke coming out of the engine at the top start to go black as coal and intense heat starts to sputter. The wheels slowly turning start to, and you are the ship starts to shudder slowly forwards, faster and faster up the black road. The boatswain who's been steering the ship, hearing the thudding now, starts to try to steer it, but with the speed of the ship, it starts to rock backwards and forwards. As you move forward from this kind of stretch of the Black River and start to turn, you see a massive gorilla splash into the river, maybe the size of a building. It's huge, grey-backed gorilla, and it howls out with massive spit and teeth, just, kind of coming out of its mouth. Arrgh! And more monkeys flee from the trees, and birds start to fly out from the canopy. And it sees, well, it hears more than sees the howling of baboons in the ship, and starts to turn with a hungry grimace. The boat is chugging forwards, but I'm going to say the complication is that you are covered in soot and coal and dust. And it kind of clogs your throat and it makes it all scratchy and you cough. You take a vigor damage. So your current vigor die size reduces by 1.
Okay, so covered in coal. So I go down to a D8.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It doesn't help probably that my fur was already really damp. So
It's all sticky gross.
I'm a scummy mess.
Mm-hmm. Sooty mess, I think is the appropriate term. But yeah, so you kind of emerge from the deck or onto the deck, kind of covered in sweat and humidity and coal. The ship is going faster, but the gorilla is slowly lumbering up the side of the river towards you. What do you guys think you'll try and do?
I'd give him the baboons.
Feed him the baboons. Feed him the baboons.
I was actually thinking, I'm still carrying 40 sausages.
Oh.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Rather than animal cruelty, maybe I start throwing sausages at him.
Okay. So, describe how you try to feed the sausages to this angry, massive gorilla.
Yeah, well, they're in a chain, so I just sort of pull them off the chain and just chuck them sort of in front of him as best I can. I don't know that I'm a very good thrower.
Okay.
But it's sort of like a peace offering. I think it's like please take these sausages and leave us alone.
Okay, so make a vigor roll for me, Dr. Kaiser.
It's a shame that I just took an injury in that.
Mm-hmm. As you're coughing and spluttering from the coal dust, you throw the link sausages. You succeed at your action, but there is a consequence. There is the complication. So you throw the sausages as one long kind of like spool hoop, and as you throw them, the gorilla snaps down and chews. He is momentarily distracted, but the sausages in his massive maw is only a small peace offering. He starts to lumber after the ship again, angry. So you can remove your 40 sausages.
And now he's got a taste for sausages as well.
Yeah. He now has a defined palate for pepper and fennel.
Oh.
What else will you try to do to distract the now partially sated gorilla from chasing after your ship?
I don't want to peak too early, but could this be the moment for Gilberto to sort of reveal himself and get into the water?
Do
It could be.
Oh yeah.
I'm just thinking. I mean, if the gorilla needs to go down before he reaches the ship, then the only way that we're going to be able to get to the gorilla is if I swim. And I have got my poisonous barbs. But like I say, I don't know if that's. I think Gilberto's sort of weighing up
the consequences.
Yeah, exactly. Of kind of revealing his true self. I think I'll go for it. I think I'll go for it because I mean this is. I don't see another way out of this.
Can we get dramatic music for the reveal?
Yes.
I don't have dramatic music, so
That's okay.
this is all I have. I honestly I should have a playlist curated for reveal of graceful fishman.
Yes, please.
Get some Breath of the Wild in there. Okay, yes.
So you dive out of. Are you revealing yourself? Are you diving into the water?
Well, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sort of creep to the back of the boat on the sea, and then I will disrobe.
Oh my!
Sorry, we said no adult content, didn't we?
Yes.
Mostly disrobe.
I would say you throw off your clothes to reveal a perfectly formed fishy bathing suit.
Yes, exactly. And then
the whole like full coverage and the blue stripes and everything.
Yeah.
It says PG-13. That's the brand.
Snorkel and goggles.
Well, you don't need the snorkel and goggles because you are a fish.
Of course, I can breathe in the water, can I?
I would say make a cunning roll. Okay. Make a cunning roll to sneak to the back of the ship.
Oh yes, yeah, okay.
So that is a success. in the chaos of this massive gorilla lumbering after the ship and the sailors all going, oh god, we're going to get eaten, and everything like that, you're able to slip away from a distraught Kaiser who's lost both her sausages and her research, and a very stressed out Dr. Josephine. You slip to the back of the ship behind the cabins where the engines are. No one's about. You throw off your disguise of this large porter, your trench coat, your top hat, and dive gracefully into the water. The inky black water is very hard for you to see in, but it doesn't impede your swimming or your breathing. What is your plan?
Well, I would like to sort of swim up to where because the gorilla's sort of ankle deep in the water, right? He's sort of
he's sort of on the bank, sort of like splashing. He's kind of slowly coming towards the center of the river to come after you.
I guess he's focused on the boat, so I'm going to sort of swim under the cover of the black water, and then what have I got? Oh, hold on. So I can either give him a jab with one of my poisoned barbs, or I've got a chain and a collar, haven't I?
Ooh.
I wonder if that's small enough or robust enough to hold a gorilla. Probably not, actually. I'm going
to find out.
Oh, I've got a net as well.
Ooh.
I think to be on the safe side, because he's a big gorilla, I think I might jab one of my poisonous spines into his heel.
Yes. So I'd like you to make a cunning roll with advantage because you are swimming, which is one of your skills as a fish. Because surprisingly, fish can swim. That is a real shocker.
Okay, here I go. Oh, man.
Roll it again.
Oh,
with
with
advantage, you can roll twice and we'll take the better result. A success, a 9. Okay, so under the black cover of the water, you're able to slip close and brush past with your poisonous gill quills.
Yeah.
And on the ship, you notice that the gorilla is slowly starting to tire and slow, and eventually stops. And you see the kind of the lumbering kind of like of the gorilla panting by the side of the river as you turn a corner, and it is obscured by trees. The engine slows, your heart stops thudding in your chest, and the sound of stress and anxiety is overcome by the sound of howling baboons in Dr. Kaiser's office. Gilberto Gil, you're able to climb back onto the ship and quickly clothe yourself back up, and no one thinks any of the wiser, as everyone's quite sweaty because it's a humid rainforest, so of course you'd be quite damp in your disguise.
Yeah. Oh, perfect.
Nicely done.
How will you deal with the baboons?
Oh.
They're still in the cabin, yeah?
Yes, they're locked in the cabin.
And I have no more sausages as peace offerings.
No.
We can't open a porthole.
You could.
To get out.
If you want to try and sidle around the boat and open a porthole to get them out, Dr. Josephine.
Yeah.
Yeah? What do you think?
Yeah, if there's a big enough portal, that makes a lot of sense. Just jump out to the river.
Okay. I'd say, Dr. Josephine, make a vigor roll for me to sidle round and open a porthole without falling into the river.
Okay. There we go.
So that is a 2, a complication. So you are able to sidle round and open the catch to the porthole and open it. And the baboons, seeing the opening, scramble out, jump out onto the other side of the bank, and howling with fear, fury, hunger, general mania, who knows, they escape off into the Silver Wilds. And as peace descends into the ship again, you look out and see, trailing behind you in the water, Lizy, your notebook.
Oh no.
Floating back the river before it disappears from the surface, and several other bits of useful things and tools you had in your your office that were on the windowsill where the baboons were.
So here I am, soaking wet, fur plastered to my skin, covered in coal dust, watching my research float into the distance, and I just sort of lean against something. I just take a little moment to myself. What a day.
Oh, it's been a real day for you guys.
I'll probably leave a big black splotch on the wall, but you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And with kind of that, Nana Grunswick comes up from the below decks, yawning and says, "Oh, this is a bit of a mess up here. You guys are real. Oh, I had a nap and you've let it go to hell. Oof." And she starts to rustle together some food and start to cook. The sun sets and the ship continues sailing up the Black Road. You've eaten your fare. I think, Dr. Kaiser, an emergency can of tuna has been broken out for you.
Thank you.
And you make your way further up the Black Road. Nana Grunswick goes below deck at morning for a well-earned nap. The night crew switches with the day crew, and it is a mostly uneventful rest of the journey until you arrive or see in the distance, slowly growing in size, stone ruins. You are now very far into the Silver Wilds, and you think you might be reaching your destination. As you make your way up the river, you find that the river ahead, very, very close to the destination, is completely collapsed and blocked with pale white stone that has completely fallen into the river. Water flows over it, but it is much too high up and jagged for the ship to make it over. It seems like you're going to have to make the rest of the journey on foot. So is there anything you want to do before you leave the ship?
I'll try to find at least a notebook that I can continue to take notes in, even if it's not my usual one. And I'm going to bring my very good pen that I still have. And yeah, that'll be me.
That'll be that.
I'd make sure I got things like water, go to the cook and get a supply of water and things. Going into the jungle, I'm going to need it, really.
Yeah. So you go down to the cook's galley, and Nana Grunswick is fast asleep, like mouth open, flies in and out, snoring. But you're able to fill up a canteen of water and get all the other supplies that you think you might need for the journey, and you're able to pack yourself some lunches as well. Gilberto Gil, is there anything else you think you'll need?
Can I have another stab at stealing that lovely skull?
Yeah. I think in the chaos of all of this,
I was going to say, whilst everybody's sort of faffing about packing their bags, that could be a good opportunity.
No, it was in my cabin when the baboons went in.
Oh.
So
I'd say, Gilberto, make me a cunning roll, because you're being very sneaky and thoughtful about how you'll try and take this skull. So that is... Oh, no. I haven't seen that. That's Nina who's made one.
I got a 7.
I didn't do that.
Ah, yes, there we go. No, Nina made the last one. It just didn't quite update on my end. You got a 7. So I'd say you're able to very slowly and carefully piece together the various fragments of the skull that has been smashed in Lizy's room in the guise of helping Dr. Kaiser put back together her quarters. And you're now able to add one smashed fish person skull to your carried items.
Yes.
that common household item.
I mean, everyone's got to have one.
It's true.
Check the description for a link to my store where you can buy your very own smashed fish skull.
Those are hard to come by in lockdown, I will have you know.
Yep. I had to go out and find my own fish skulls and smash them. Like, this is a serious business. Yes.
All right, done.
So, you are setting out from the ship. You step onto the squelchy, muddy banks of the Black River and are able to follow it with the back or forwards into the river, the rain silver wilds. And there is a light misting of rain actually coming down in this new day. The heat is still unabated, but it's just wetter. Which, as I've said before, Gil, you much enjoy, and Dr. Geyser, you much hate.
Whiskers are drooping.
Yeah. You move forward and are able to find yourself near what you could misconstrue as possibly a building or an entrance. You see all around there seems to be some sort of curved stone wall building, and it seems to have divots and old rusted metal spikes coming out at certain areas that seem to have been completely rusted over time, and unsure of what their purpose could be. You're in front of what could be an entrance, dark and foreboding. This seems to be the ruins where the gold pillar could be located. What do you do?
Go inside.
Yeah, I wipe my glasses. Really trot on in.
Okay, so as you enter this strange, mysterious place, we're going to pick another fortune for what could happen next. So, the 3 fortunes you have to pick from are hang on, I'm just going to type. They are give and take. They are flow, just the word flow, and vines, just those words. So give and take, flow, or vines.
I'd go for vines. I don't know about anyone else. Sounds intriguing.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, Gilbert is naturally going to go for flow, but I'll
That's true.
I'll go with the doctors. I'll go with the doctors.
So as you're walking through into what seems to be some kind of hallway entrance, large and empty, much of the vegetation of the forest has grown its way through this opening, and you see that the room is thick filled with hanging rope-like vines that have grown in from the entrance. Thick red leaves with little spiked exteriors grow all over the ground. There seems to be an entrance ahead that you can move through. Many of the doorways of this, what is now clearly a building, or a connection of buildings, have collapsed or have been filled with dirt, and there is a great crack in the floor. But there seems to be a kind of this hazard you'll have to try and overcome, are these vines.
I experimentally take a swipe at the vines with my claws.
Okay. Make a vigor roll for me.
Do I still have my vigor injury? Have I bathed?
I'd say you spent all of you could either spend your time like putting all of your office back together, or you could have bathed and rested.
I think I probably bathed, but we can still say that Gilberto helped, and so was able to obtain the skull. Not help, help with the cleaning of things.
Yeah, I will say that you are able to put your vigor back up to its base then.
Thank you. It's mostly just I don't think she'd be happy staying dirty. So okay, so I'm doing a vigor roll to see if I cut through the vines.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
So that is a success. You are able to, with your claws, deftly hack through the juicy vegetation, and one of the vines parts in front of you. They seem to actually be quite soft and easily navigable. Would you like to keep cutting your way through?
I'm gonna keep going unless someone tries to stop me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can help as well. I've got a pocket knife.
Ooh, okay. So, Nina, could you make a vigor roll for me as well?
Okay. Where have I done it?
Ooh, a complication. So you're able to pull it off, but without, not without some kind of consequence. So you are hacking at these leaves, you're kind of grabbing onto them with your hands and then cutting, and mostly you seem to be able to cut through all of these vines and clear a path through to this entrance. So now you are moving into another room. As you go in, you see that there are many large, flat tanks. There seems to be a tiered room with large, flat beds. Many plants have grown all over this room, and the ceiling seems to have mostly collapsed in, but seems to have been made of, at one point, glass. Flowers and plants and vegetation of all kinds are rife growing through this space. The vines don't seem to obstruct as much here, but there does seem to be a general... I'm just trying to find the word. A caution. You walk into this room and there is all this leaf everywhere. You can't really see much other than all of these plants.
Interesting. Do I smell anything besides plants?
Okay, make a cunning roll for me.
Okay.
You're taking a step back and looking at all of the evidence. So that is a 4. That is a success. You take a moment to sniff the air. And then take off your glasses and close your eyes. Your eyesight has always distracted you as it's gotten worse. And you don't smell, but instead you hear a very gentle and a slight rustling. You think there might be snakes lurking in the depths of this room, hidden amongst all the vegetation.
I make a very undignified yelping sound.
Mm-hmm.
And say to the others, "There's snakes! Look out for the snakes!"
Very slowly, actually, Dr. Josephine, you look down and you see that languidly and slowly a snake is slithering over your boot.
Oh.
And then...
Ah!
So do you scream and kick it away?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just saying, yeah, the snake is on you. It wasn't expecting it. You kick the snake away, and there is it's sort of like rubberneck hoses into the vegetation. There's a whoosh, and more rustling and movement. You see ahead of this this chamber, there is another doorway that you could adventure through, but you will have to go through this vegetation. How do you want to try and proceed without being attacked by snakes?
Could we go like single file, slowly through?
Mm-hmm.
Looking for snakes?
Has anyone got a stick or anything?
Can we climb up and over or anything? You said that the ceiling's caved in.
Yeah. You could try climbing up onto the ceiling if you'd like. If anyone has any rope or any gear that they could try and climb up with.
I've got this net thing.
Okay.
Got like a fishing net. I don't know if there's a way. And you said there are sort of sticky out, spiky things in the building. So maybe...
I'd say maybe you could try throwing the net and catching it on something and making sort of like a rigging you could climb up.
Yeah.
Okay. Make a figure roll for me.
Oh dear, this is not going well.
Because you're throwing, you're trying to kind of do something very athletic.
Yeah.
So there's a complication. You are able to throw the net up, and the first time that you throw it, you think you've caught it on something. You give it a testing tug, and you pull, and instead you pull down rusted metal and glass, and it clatters around you and falls. You take, I would say, a vigor damage from the debris falling on you.
No.
Now, you don't have... I think your dice is a D4, is it not?
I cannot go lower.
So I need you to roll it again, and if you get a hijinks, something bad's going to happen. So make another figure roll for me.
Come on, Gilberto.
So 3, you're able to kind of like turn your coat and the thick, whatchamacallit, leather of your trench coat takes the brunt of most of the falling debris, and you avoid getting glass in your gills and your eyes. You're gonna go. The second time you throw your net, it lodges on something much more secure, and you have a rigging that you can climb up above onto the ceiling of this building.
Cool. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to go up first.
So, having demonstrated his capabilities as an expedition explorer person thing, he just states, Josephine or Kaiser, who would like to go first up this rigging?
I can go. I'm
I
probably.
think Kaiser, you should, because you're a
Yeah.
cat. You're good at climbing.
Yeah, I will happily go first. Not
So-
happily. Actually, no. I'm very eager to get away from the snakes.
Yeah.
I will carry on up.
Yeah, you instantly have an affinity for the high ground. You scramble up the rigging, going as fast as you can, and you make your way onto what is some kind of roof. Moss and vines and bits of tree have started to grow up here, and you look out over what is a very large area of buildings. There are many rings going in and slightly down towards this central area, and you see some kind of fogged glass dome at the very center that seems to might be the goal of your journey.
Ah!
You see all sorts of kinds of building here, and you see at one point there is a source of the Black River itself near the center, near this glass dome. You can't see inside the glass dome, though, or whatever material it is, because over presumably many years it has grown foggy and dirty and misted over.
Does it seem like we could climb down the roofs and stuff to the glass dome without having to go back into the building?
Potentially. You'd have to be very careful about how you navigate these different rooms and chambers.
Of course. I'm sure not all the ceilings or the roofs are stable.
Mm.
Okay.
So if everyone else climbs up, you can see that there is a natural place for you to leap to. There is what seems to be a slightly covered over stone area that seems to be more of a, maybe say a garden. It seems to have what you can spot from far away, stone benches perhaps. And there is another room that is seems to be mostly actually a tank of water, perhaps, with a single stone path making its way through. But much of the canopy is covering and you can't quite see what's going on.
I mean, for my own part, I'd love to go and look at the watery thing. I think I'm just sort of naturally drawn to it.
I'm gonna lean towards the garden, or the not water. I am not going to go to the water.
So a bit of a tiebreaker. Dr. Josephine, where would you like to go?
Oh, she's torn now. She's in the middle of you both. I think probably the garden as well, I'm afraid. Sorry, Gilberto.
I mean, is the team allowed to split up and then
The team
reconvene?
could split up. That is allowed.
I mean, how close together is the garden and the because obviously Gilberto is going to be worried about getting into sort of physical difficulties. Is the pool of water, is it close enough for me to sort of yell to the others if I need them?
Yeah, I'd say that they're not adjacent, but they've got one room apart from them. You could judge. You're going to have to jump down onto another roof and then turn in different directions.
Okay.
Well, if you did that, would you wait for us to go first and then sneak off the other way?
That's what I was thinking. Well, okay, maybe let's do that then. Look, we go to the garden, and then if I don't see anything that interests me, I can slip away.
Yes. Okay. So, you will have to jump over onto this other roof. So I'll need everyone to make a vigor check for me as they jump from a higher ceiling down onto a lower one. So Gilberto rolled a complication. Kaiser rolled a success.
And Josephine is lagging behind again.
A critical success. Okay.
Wow.
So, Josephine, you are able to nimbly and dexterously jump and roll to safety on this other roof. You find stable footing and are able to then help Kaiser as she jumps down, giving her a hand and steadying her. Gilberto, as you jump, you pinwheel in the air, your arms, and as you land, you don't quite make it to the roof. You scrabble with your arms and your hands, and you're able to scrabble your way up onto the roof. But as you look behind, the strap to your backpack has broken. Some of your tools fall out. Could you tell me which of your 4 tools falls out of your backpack?
Sorry, how many tools am I losing?
Just one, but you're going to have to tell me which one.
Okay.
And you've already lost your net as well because you've used it for the rigging.
I've lost my net, haven't I? Yeah. It's probably the chain and the collar, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So you see the into the grassy, I say grassy, the jungly depths of wherever you've dropped this chain and collar. It snakes off and then disappears into the undergrowth. You scrabble onto the roof and manage to make your way closer towards this garden room. As you kind of descend from the ceiling, where it's collapsed a little bit into this room, you see that there are rows of what could have once been paths with benches. Much of the flora has grown rampant here, and there are strange flowers and interesting looking trees. At one point you see what could have been maybe an evergreen, completely alien to this sweaty jungle atmosphere, but it has very much not enjoyed these conditions and withered and rotted slowly, kind of all withered and looking very, very sad. What would you like to try and explore in this room?
Do I have a sense of which way to that sort of central dome?
Yeah, I think the dome
is there a path or a door going that way?
Yeah, you could try and look for a door that would take you closer towards the dome or some kind of navigation. Dr. Josephine, is there anything that you'd like to look for, particularly?
I suppose I'm thinking with the navigation though that I can offer a compass. I don't know if that would help with the bearings.
So you're able to, with your help, you are able to use your compass and orientate yourself with where Lizy's kind of looking for her direction. And you're able to determine that you need to be going more like an easterly direction to get your way closer and down to this room. So you move through this garden and all these gorgeous flowers and orchids and all strange things growing all haphazardly through the soil and parts. And you move down into a cooler looking corridor or set of corridors. Here the sun isn't nearly as bright and heavy. You see ahead of you, going downwards, what appears to be some kind of a drawing room or hallway with stone seats almost. Or you could take another room which could lead you towards the glass dome that appears to be some kind of workshop, maybe, peering down and low.
I definitely vote for the workshop.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, we'll go that way.
Everyone wants to go towards the workshop. So you move down these stone, and they're very like white, almost chalky coloured, but they are very hard, like marble, stone steps. And condensation has caused not mold, moss to grow all along the stone here. You go down the steps into this, what could be a workshop. You look about and you recognise the remnants of long rotted wood, long what would have been benches, and you see clay pots and jars like broken onto the ground, covered in green decaying moss. And there seem to be old metal tools, rusted, we're not quite sure what they could be. Ahead, you see precariously balanced near a door, there seems to be some kind of possibly a podium or bookshelf or something teetering near a hole, which leads maybe further down into another room or something. It seems to have collapsed, but it seems to be very, very precariously balanced that it could teeter and fall.
Can I examine the tools to maybe see what kind of metal they look like they're made of and sort of like how refined they are?
Mm-hmm. Gilberto Gil, what would you like to do?
I mean, I'm completely hell-bent on finding this pillar, right? I mean, whilst the two anthropologists are sort of intrigued by, you know, some old tools and pots, can I be trying to slip away from them?
Mm-hmm. Okay, and Josephine, what would you like to do?
I think I'd be looking at the podium, trying to see what's on it, if there's anything on there.
Okay, so we'll start with Lizy. So I want you to make a vigor roll for me, because you are going very diligently and slowly through this analysis of the tools and seeing, you know, if you can maneuver them without breaking them and that sort of stuff.
Sure.
So critical success.
Ooh.
Oh wait, no, that's Josephine.
Oh.
What's the... Oh, you also got a critical success.
Yay!
My thing doesn't always scroll. So you're looking at these tools and you recognize, like, oh, that here's where rotted wood would be. Oh, this is very rusted. This is obviously iron. It's a ferrous material. And you think with the prongs here and this flat, sharp edge here, these would have been gardening tools. And that would correlate with the pots as well. You think maybe this was some kind of gardening room, strangely enough, or some kind of maybe plant worship or larger cultural element. What suspicions might you have about this sort of what these could have been used for?
Ooh, okay, so we just went through a garden and they're gardening here. So yeah, it's something with all these strange plants.
Mm.
Okay. Sorry, did you ask a question? Sorry.
Yeah, what do you think they could have been used for?
Well, it looks like they were really focused on taking care of the plants around here and the non-native species. It's really strange to have all this right next to a river that kills things.
Mm.
I don't know much more than that. That's noteworthy. I take a note of it in my notebook.
You note in your new journal
Yes.
the significance of this.
Quietly lamenting the loss of my last one.
So, going over to Gilberto, I'd like you to make a cunning roll as you try to slip away from these very engrossed researchers. And I say because you're good at shirking work, you can have advantage.
Oh, excellent. Okay. Sorry, cunning roll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, 2 successes. You are very easily able to move away from these distracted denizens. Where would you like to move? Would you like to move past the podium into possibly further down the building? Would you like to go through the other room or back towards the watery area?
I mean, so I think I'm still very kind of literal minded, aren't I? Like, I think the golden pillar is literally just a big gold pillar.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I don't have the sort of subtleties that the 2 doctors have. So I guess I'm just going to go for the big shiny glass dome and assume there's something nice in there.
Okay. So you're just going to go, like, which route are you taking?
So I guess I go onwards past the podium.
Okay, so you move past the podium and you are going down more corridors, and you see that there are other rooms here. Many of them seem to contain some kind of plant life, but you've got a very focused duty, so you're not really looking into those. You do notice that at one point you seem to cross a general trajectory similar to where you entered. Sort of if you were going in a straight line and you've gone this sort of like weaving through different rooms and further in. You cross back over where the crack would have been as you first came into the building, and you notice there's a much wider crack in the earth here. The stone blocks of the building fall inwards, and you actually see flowing through the ground here that black river. It seems to be where maybe some of the source is coming from.
Interesting.
You also see...
Can I look?
Oh, yes. Go ahead.
Sorry, how fast flowing is it? How strong is the current?
It's stronger than the river itself, and it's maybe like 10, 15 meters down at its deepest, darkest part where the water is flowing. So,
is it so strong that I would get swept away if I slipped into it?
There's only one way to find out. It's flowing like inky blackness.
Okay, this is it. This is Gil's moment. I'm flinging off my top hat and my trench coat, and I'll
he's far away in several corridors.
I'm far away, actually. Yeah, that's why. That's the only reason I'm doing it, I think. Yeah. This is it. I'll dive in.
I'm just making a note of that. You dive in. I'd like you to make a vigor roll for me at advantage. Because you're good at swimming, but it is a test of your strength to swim against the current.
Yes. Okay.
With your wasted muscles from, spinning signs all day long.
Oh, no.
So that was advantage. So we're going to ignore the hijinks and instead go for the complication. I'm going to say the complication is you've just thrown away all of your gear. All of it's on the ground. You're just dedicated to moving forward. So you don't have your backpack, you don't have anything with you. You're just swimming. And you swim and push as hard as you can, and you notice that in the inky blackness you can't see anything. But your hands scrape against the walls of this cavern, and your gill, and you swim, and you feel something. You go, oh, it's a bone. And there are several more bones, and you surface in another room, scrabble up the side, and you see that many of the stones have fallen down and seem to have crushed a collection of different bones and people, almost. Skeletons crumbled underneath where this crack seems to maybe have caused the walls to fall down. You seem to be not in necessarily the room of the golden pillar, necessarily, but a large chamber similar to the one with the seating. Another one this time with a stone podium and several chairs and a large screen at the back. Hanging, it seems to be a strange material that is, while mossy and green, untouched by the ravages of time. Hanging from the ceiling.
I'd like to go and have a look at the screen, please. Have a look.
Okay, you go up and you touch it, and it's of a strange material. It feels almost like the smoothness of the webbing of your fingers. And as you touch it, the whole of the screen moves in time with it, and you rub it, and some of the green comes off of it. It is weighted by two long metal objects, also rusted, seem to be hanging it from the ceiling, and they sway as these rods move.
Is there something behind it, or...?
It seems to just be a stone wall behind the screen.
It's just a wall. Huh. What else did you say is there around me?
Bones. You go and inspect some of the bodies, and they seem to have rotted clothing, like completely decomposed on them. Ancient, only fragments. A snake skitters away from one of the skeletons, seeming to have made a nest amongst its rib cages. And you notice the skulls are of all sorts. Some are fish people skulls, some are cat people skulls, some are humans. There seem to be a couple horse skulls amongst here with horse-like bodies and feet of all different shapes and sizes.
Is there any on the screen? Is there any sort of design on the screen? Like if I brush away the moss, is there
you brush away some of the moss and the greenness, and it seems to be mostly blank.
Like a cinema screen.
Yeah, like it's a. I'm not there, but
maybe.
Yeah.
And you look about, and you see that you look for some kind of reason the screen might be here, and you see the general rubble. It's rather confusing. We'll say on that point, we'll swing the camera back through the halls and the tunnel towards Dr. Josephine. You approach this this sort of podium pedestal, and you see. As you approach it, you see that there is a room below that this is a room over, and that it seems to have, with this kind of large, almost like earthquake force, seem to have collapsed part of the ceiling of the room below, which is the floor of the room you're in. And this podium is now teetering on this gap. There appear to be some kind of glass tablets on the podium itself.
Well, I definitely want to have a look at those glass tablets, see what's on them, if anything written.
So I'd like you to make a cunning roll as you approach this podium in its delicate position. So that's a 4, that's a success. You're able to very slowly creep your way over to the podium and the glass there as well. And you're able to pick one up. They are square glass tablets that seem large and thick. One might say that they have this sort of pearlescent texture to them. They are sitting. There are 2 of them sitting on the podium. You can take one if you'd wish.
Yes, I definitely take one, because I'd also like to Dr. Kaiser as well, so she could have a look as well.
So, Dr. Kaiser, as you look up, Dr. Josephine has taken the glass tablets, and there's a slight creak and lurch, and Josephine, you step back as the stone podium collapses, and the floor itself starts to slowly creak and crack and give way, and there's the whole floor is starting to fall down. Josephine and Kaiser, what do you do?
I try to get onto stable floor, scrambling, cat maneuver. But if I do fall, I will land on my feet.
Yeah. And Josephine, what do you try to do?
I clutch the tablet to me, so I'm sort of cradling it, and I try and jump to somewhere.
Okay, so I'd say, Dr. Kaiser, the closest place you could try to run to would be the entrance of this hall that you came into.
Okay.
So backwards, so to speak, in the progress. And then, Dr. Josephine, you'd be jumping to the hallway that Gilberto went through, if that makes sense. So I want you guys to both make vigor rolls for me.
Okay.
So that's both successes. So you're able to scramble backwards and get into the archways of these rooms, and you see that these the floor completely collapses of this room. And as there's no dust actually, because it's all damp and wet, so it kind of collapses, but it's not like a boosh, because they're all stuck down with the humidity of the silver wilds. But as you're looking down, you see that the floor has collapsed onto what seems to be some kind of library or presentation room, perhaps, an archive maybe. And if you wanted to, you could try to climb down into it.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. So very slowly, Dr. Kaiser, you move down into the room, and you see that there are more of these now smashed glass tablets, black glass tablets, and you are moving around and investigating, and you see a gold plate corroded with time, with that slight kind of splotching that it gets, but gold plates on some of the walls with ancient text chiseled into them.
Can I interpret it at all?
I think you have understanding languages as one of your skills.
Do I? I have excellent factual recall.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I have languages. No.
Josephine, do you have any language skills?
I can't remember. Let's have a look. Don't remember languages. No.
Do I remember ever seeing something that looked like this? Oh, sorry, Nina.
No, it's just I'm good at solving puzzles, so I might be good at unpicking language, possibly.
Okay. So I feel like you'd be best suited for this. Make a cunning roll for me as you try to unpick the language and the meaning of it. You have some references to this sort of text in your research for this culture, but you don't have a full cipher, so to speak.
Yeah.
And roll it again. And a critical success. That is fantastic news. So not only are you able to slowly pick through, you're able to understand, and with Dr. Kaiser's expert notation and cross-referencing, you're able to understand what these different plates are. And they are, in the same way you'd have in a library, they're categories. And these are for different kinds of what you think are classifications of plant. And in general, this seems to be some kind of archive, library about plants and knowledge. And as you sort of start to go back to what you can remember of your notes, Dr. Kaiser, you realize that maybe the golden pillar is a mistranslation. It seems to be that maybe none of this is actually.
I want that cash money.
Yeah, none of this is maybe it wasn't some kind of how to say, maybe it wasn't a Rosetta Stone that you were looking for, and that maybe this culture wasn't necessarily a trading hub or some kind of capital as you thought, but maybe it was what could possibly be some kind of meeting or botanical garden. And it only leaves the question of, what is the golden pillar? And on that note of what is the golden pillar, we're going to take a break from the game. I'm going to say a massive thank you to our first adventuring party, Nina, Nicholas, and Lizy, who have been part of Group 1 playing the adventure at the Black Road, and join us in our adventures with the characters in Part 2, starting from 4 till 6, who will be playing the adventure The Golden Pillar. So this has been really exciting and fun. I've had a really good time.
This is awesome.
It's so fun.
Oh
Thanks,
Yeah,
Ryan.
brilliant.
Also, shout out to whoever from Chimera has been live tweeting our adventure. I got a ping about that. So
Oh, thank you.
You can relive the adventure via Twitter as well.
Oh yeah.
Can I ask, Brian, will Group 2 interact with the characters from Group 1?
Yes, I'm going to ask you a few things off stream about what your characters might be doing, and if there is any crossover, we'll see what happens.
Amazing.
That's cool.
But I won't say it on stream because spoilers.
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Fun plans.
Fantastic.
But yes, everything you guys have done will directly impact Group 2, the Golden Pillar.
Cool.
So, Nick, Nina, how was your first experience of playing a role-playing game?
Great.
Brilliant. I really enjoyed it. It's been so much fun.
I wish I'd done more voices. I wish I'd done more sort of in character. Like Lizzie's totally just like slips into character.
Yeah.
Oh,
I've been doing this for a long
Set the bar
time.
very high.
I also feel like everyone's been really onto it. Everyone's been thinking about what their character would do and what would be fun for the story, and like, oh, I don't want to go on an island of bones and skeletons, but it would be really great.
I think
So,
in future I'd sort of build a character who was a bit more gregarious and he wasn't just constantly trying to get away from everyone else.
I think it's going to be
Roberto. I think he's
really
a
fun.
good character.
But also, in general, it's been really fun because ultimately everyone's been seeing through Gilberto's eyes all these other fun things coming up, and who are these strange skeletal remains, and what's going on?
Who's been watching movies in the back of the botanical garden?
So,
Yeah.
we will end the stream there, but thank you so much, everybody. I'm Brian. I run Dungeons on a Dime, and alongside playing adventures like this, I also write entry-level role-playing adventures for people who've never played before to run their first game with their friends. I also wrote the Adventures on a Dime system that we were using here, and the rules are freely available at doad.co.uk for anyone to download, and there is a character sheet that we've all been using for the game on Roll20, which you can see on the screen here. It looks like this. It's all cool. You can click things and get dice rolls, and it's fun. So, Nina, please reintroduce yourself for anyone who wasn't here at the beginning of the stream.
Yeah, my name's Nina Oram, and I'm the author of a young adult fantasy trilogy called the Caracal series. And I didn't say it at the beginning, and I should say it now, that is published by Luna Press Publishing
Beautiful.
in Edinburgh.
Amazing. Nick, please reintroduce yourself.
Hi, I am Nicholas Bowling, who I've written 2 children's books with Chicken House, Witchborn and In the Shadow of Heroes, and my first sort of sci-fi near-future speculative fiction book is coming out on the 21st of July with Titan, and it's called Alpha Omega.
Fun. And it's definitely a mature book, but it's not a top shelf book.
No. Yeah.
There needs to be a better way of saying adult fiction without adult fiction.
Yeah, adult fiction.
Adult.
Yeah.
Depends on if you wink or not.
Yeah, I should start winking, really.
Yeah. Because because you don't want to be like, oh, it's not racy, it's boring adult fiction, but it's not boring because these books are fun.
I mean, it does contain both swearing and nudity. So if that's your thing, then
Oh
then
dear.
go for it.
Oh dear. And last but very Lizzy not least, Lizzy, please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Lizy Simonin. I do not have a book published.
Yet.
Watch this space. Hopefully someday I'll be back with Cymera with a book like these awesome folks.
Woo!
I'm a librarian here in Glasgow. I didn't actually say that before. I live in Glasgow. I didn't say that before either. I don't sound like it, but I do. And I co-organized the Stay-at-Home Fringe Festival that ended a couple weeks ago now, but is still dear to my heart.
And where can people find all of the cool events and videos and things that happened there?
Sorry?
For the Stay-at-Home Festival, are there online...
Yeah, well, I interviewed you, and that's on your YouTube channel. And then there is a Fringe Festival YouTube account that's mostly the video of me talking with my friend Dr. Taylor Driggers about queerness and monstrosity in fantasy fiction. It was a very good time.
Love it. Well, I'll definitely be checking that out after all of this.
Yes.
Please enjoy an hour-long break. Go to the bathroom, eat some food, get some snacks, check out all of these awesome authors and their cool work, and the Stay-at-Home Festival as well. And I will see all of you back here from 4 till 6 for our second game. But for now, it's goodbye, and have a great day. See you later.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Okay, everybody, we're not streaming anymore.